Good morning, friends. As I think about what I'm grateful for today, I have to say, I'm so grateful for this congregation, for each of you, and for the ways that you all offer up your gifts and your hearts and service to God and to each other. You know, Eric, I'm so grateful for your leadership as you stand up here and lead us. And Jackie, I'm so grateful for the way you offer your gifts to us. I mean, did y'all watch? Like, she went from playing the drums to leading us in a meditation. You got range, girl. You've got range, okay? When she leads us in those kinds of things, like what I am always amazed at is just like how our God designed our bodies in this way for very simple things to be able to heal us and calm us and connect us to Him and back to ourselves. So, taking a deep breath, being able to feel that actually make us calm, and to smell that rosemary, and you said it connects us to remembrance, and it takes me right back to my grandmother's kitchen and her dressing. That's what I smell when I smell that, and so the gratitude for my family wells up in that moment. But these bodies God has given us, wow. They're just amazing. The more I dig into it, the more my mind is blown. And so I'm curious, does anybody have a fun fact about the human body that just speaks to how amazing it is? And I'm thinking, does Jerry Maguire come to your mind? He comes out and he says, the human head weighs, I don't even remember how many pounds it was. 8 pounds. 8 pounds. So, all right, we already got that one on the table. Anybody else got any interesting facts about the human body that it's whoa, God was very, very wildly specific when He made us? Anybody? 206 bones. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
The retina in the space of a thickness of a credit card can perform more calculations than even the most advanced computer of AI.
Look at that. Our resident eye doctor, by the way. Actually, we have a few of those here. Y'all got any other fun facts about the eyes over here? That's amazing. Yes, it is amazing. Something snarky was just said in that back corner, and now I'm very curious about what. Oh, they're pointing to Evan. What you got, Evan? Please no. In case you all didn't know, Evan is very afraid of the eye doctor. Deathly afraid. So I have prayed over him before he's gone to doctor's appointments. All right. Anybody else have a fun fact? Yes? Yes?
I don't have a fun fact, but I am so amazed at the human heart.
The human heart. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. We recently had, if you all know Miss Lee from our 9 o'clock service, her grandson, 26 years old, needed a new heart. And how they were able to do that and restore his life is just mind-blowing to me. Yeah, cannot believe it. You don't need 2 kidneys to live. Our son Sam has 1 kidney. Fun fact about Sam. Yep. Brittany, you were raising your hand.
I was going to say how neat it is that a woman's body or her breast milk can change hour by hour based off the
Yeah.
saliva from the baby, what it needs.
Wow. How smart is that, right? Any other fun facts? I've got a few. Our bodies have over 30 billion cells. That is a big, I'm sorry, I said billion, didn't I? Is it billion or trillion? Billion, it is billion. 30 billion cells, and they regenerate, 25 million of them regenerate every second. All that's happening to keep us going in this moment. Not only do we have the 206 bones, we have 11 different systems in our body that all have to work together to keep us going so that we can thrive. We have all these blood vessels that are a part of our heart being able to take all that stuff everywhere it's supposed to go. And they've said that if you took our blood vessels and you laid them out end to end, that it would be 60,000 miles of these blood vessels that are within each and every one of us. And that means they could go around the world not once, but twice. That's insane. And probably the coolest fact I've learned recently is do you know that we glow? We actually emit a little bit of light as human beings. We don't really perceive it with our eyes, but when scientists look at it, they can see it. Like the psalmist said, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And as human beings, we have a few things that set us apart from most every other creature. Like we have chins, evidently, like that's a thing no other animal has. In theory, we have higher cognitive and communication skills, right? And of course, one of the things that's different from most other animals is like we have these things, opposable thumbs, right? And what do they help us do? They help us hold on to stuff, right? And we human beings, we can really give these thumbs a really good workout, right? It's tempting for us to want to hold on to as much as we possibly can. Our survival, what was that, Callie? Are we safe? Did I hear a sound out there? We're good. Okay. She's going to duck under the seat here. Our survival instincts tell us like more is always better, right? Like grab as much as you can for yourself. However, have you ever noticed that it like takes a bit of effort to make a fist? And so I want to invite you to do that today. Like go ahead and make a fist and then like hold it a little tighter and a little bit tighter again. Like can you feel your muscles like starting to work here, right? Sure, this opposable thumb, it helps us with lots of things, but the reality is it's supposed to help us like in little spurts to get things done, right? If we are always constantly walking around with closed fists, it's going to exhaust us. And so here's what I want you to do. I want you to let your fist back out a little bit. It feels a lot better, right? A lot better. It's more natural for us as we open up our hands. And the theologian, the great reformer, Martin Luther would say, like, there's a good reason for that, right? He once said that he believed God divided our hands into fingers so that money in particular could slip right on through. It was his way of saying, like, God designed us to be generous. He made us to share. He made us to do good. He made us to help others. And that is something that he not only placed a longing inside of us to do, but something that he actually engineered our bodies to promote. He made us so that we could catch what we need in the palm of our hand, but then let the rest overflow and slip right on through into the lives of others. And it's when we live into this design that we as human beings thrive, that we find ourselves coming fully alive. 1 Timothy 6 talks about this. In 1 Timothy is a letter that Paul is writing to Timothy, who is one of his disciples, someone that he's mentored. He is writing to Timothy as Timothy's stepping up in leadership and trying to lead a church. And this is what Paul says to him. He says, godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of it. But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with that. And so let's break this down a little bit. He kind of gives us a little bit of an equation, if you will, for how we experience great gain in life. He says godliness, in other words, seeking to follow God's example, living life by his design, plus contentment, which is satisfaction. It's trusting that we have what we need. He says that is what equals great gain. That is what equals profit. That is what is of greatest benefit to us as human beings. That's what's going to give us the greatest return in life. But as we look at that doesn't necessarily line up with what we hear all the time, does it? It sounds pretty counterintuitive. The world tells us that gain is found in never being content, never being satisfied, and always seeking to grab more and more. It's found in getting for ourselves as much as we possibly can. And it's found in just like forever chasing this illusion of enough. However, Paul, he says, no, like that's not where it's found at all. We truly gain when we realize that everything we have is grace. When we realize like we brought nothing into this world, we're not going to be able to take anything out of it. All of it is this gift from God for us to enjoy and to invest. He says godliness plus contentment equals great gain. It turns out that the full and the abundant life that all of us are searching for, that all of us are longing for, that it is not dependent upon our grit to get for ourselves, but rather it is found in God's grace that gives and gives and gives. We were made to live our lives with hands wide open, receiving from God what it is we need and then letting the rest slip right on through into the lives of others. However, the deadly sin of greed will always tell us, are you sure about that? It will always be a little bit skeptical. It will always try to tell us that we need to go around and make a fist instead. This sin of greed, it's the insatiable desire for more. And it sneaks into our lives in lots of different ways. It sneaks in very small ways and in very big ways. And today I want to share with you a story of like a very small, silly way that it has snuck in at the Vincent household. So you can perhaps see how this plays out on a grander scale, okay? The other night, I had to run by the store to grab a couple of things for dinner. And while I was there, I was like, you know what? I am feeling generous. I think that I want to show a little grace to my boys today. I'm going to take them home a gift. So I went to the freezer section, and I got them these Oreo ice cream bars that they love. Has anybody had these? I don't know what it is they do to them, but they are extremely good, right? You never get one. Don't spoil the story, Jeremy. But you'll notice there's only 5 in a pack. 5, right? And so when we take them home, like before they like hit the freezer, they're almost always gone. And so Jeremy instituted a new rule in our house. You only get 1 ice cream bar a day. That's it. 1. Okay? And so I go home and I tell the boys, you know, like I got these and they're excited. I remind them of the rule, only 1, because again, we're trying to ensure everyone gets 1. And little Sam, he looks at me and he like wants his right away, right? Like before I even put him up for the first time. So I hand little Sam his ice cream. He eats it there sitting at the table and we kind of move on with life. But about an hour later, it's time for me to take him to basketball practice, and I can't find him anywhere. I'm like, where has Sam gone? And so I start to look around. I'm looking here and there, and all of a sudden I start noticing these brown smudges on the ground. And so I follow the smudges into our laundry room, and who do I find there? Sam. And he's holding something behind his back as I open the door. I'm like, what do you have? And so eventually he pulls it out and he's enjoying another ice cream bar. And I'm like, oh, Sam. But we're in a hurry. So I don't even really say that much about it. We jump in the car, we go to practice, we come back. It's time to put him to bed. And I've forgotten all about the ice cream. And then all of a sudden, Jeremy walks out of the living room and he's holding yet another ice cream bar wrapper that he's found tucked behind the pillows on the couch where guess who was sitting earlier that night? Our friend Sam. And so at that point, I'm like, I'm not even going to look in the freezer. I know they're all gone. I know he has somehow eaten every single one of them. Now, I am not telling you this story to shame little Sam, because in the Vincent household, we all have our own ways of hoarding things, okay? For example, Jeremy likes those little Hershey nugget bars. And he gets them and he hides them in a different place every time he gets them so that he does not have to share them with us. And I know where they are. I saw them last night. They're above the refrigerator. So now you have to share with me. But Lincoln, he gets a snack he particularly likes. It often disappears in his room. And then personally, I prefer to enjoy my treat in my car by myself so I do not have to take it inside and share it with anyone else. But we all have this propensity, right? Like we all have this ability to be greedy, to grab a hold of stuff as tightly as we can with a closed fist, especially when we start to see things through a scarcity lens. You know, like here's Sam over here. He starts doing the math. There's only 5 bars and there's 4 of us, right? And so that triggers something inside of us that screams like, there isn't enough, there isn't enough, there isn't enough. And so we grab as much as we possibly can. We gobble the ice cream up. But let me tell you guys, whenever this deadly sin takes over, there are some unintended consequences for us. For example, I can tell you that after eating all that ice cream, that Sammy Vincent had a tummy ache later that night. It always seems like more is best. However, in the words of the great philosopher, the 90s rapper, Biggie Smalls, mo money, what? Mo problems, right? Paul, he says it just a little more eloquently than this in 1 Timothy 6. He says, those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap, and into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people, eager for money, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. Paul, he says, watch out. Like, this is a trap. It is a trap to think that this illusion of more money or more stuff is finally going to be the thing that satisfies us. He says it's a trap that's foolish. It's a trap that harms us. It's a trap that leads us toward ruin and destruction. Remember how holding that fist, like how you can feel it tiring you out? That's exactly what greed does to us. It will wear us out as we strain and we strive and we stress, trying to fill a hole that is actually a bottomless pit. Because how much is enough? It's just a little bit more, a little bit more. That's the lie that the deadly sin of greed tells us. Like all the deadly sins, it simply doesn't work, right? It just defeats us again and again and again. Or as Paul puts it here, it pierces us with many griefs, he says. And so one unintended consequence of greed is that it harms us. However, another unintended consequence is that it harms others as well, right? While we are so focused on getting more for ourselves, what we might not even consciously realize as we're grabbing and taking is that there might not be much left for anyone else. I don't think little Sam was being devious with his ice cream the other night. I don't think he was going, I'm going to eat all this so nobody gets any. I think he just tasted the ice cream and he's like, this is really good. And so he ate as much as he could of it, right? But the result was still the same. The result was still that there was none left over for anyone else. And I can tell you, Lincoln Vincent was not happy about this. But when we close our fist, when we grab onto as much as we can and hold on to it for ourselves, the result is that nothing can slip through into the lives of others, can it? It stops the overflow. Paul, he says that the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. It's another way of saying, like, the love of money or the love of stuff, it causes harm. It causes harm to us. It causes harm to others because we have gotten distracted from our true purpose. And our true purpose is to love God by loving others as we love ourselves. We were genetically engineered to be generous, to live our lives with open hands, to release what becomes too much for us for the benefit of others and for our own souls as well. And so in verse 17, Paul gives Timothy this guidance to pass on to the church in Ephesus, which has, of course, come across the ages to us. He says, command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Generosity is the antidote to greed. And Paul says that it is a practice that begins with us recognizing where our hope is. It begins in recognizing that our hope can't be in stuff or in money that can disappear in an instant, but rather our hope is in the God who is constant, in the God who is generous, the God who made us, the God who handcrafted us from the dust and gave his own breath into our lungs to enliven us, who continues to richly provide for us. This is the hope that can actually satisfy our souls. This is the source of contentment, trusting that our God is who he says he is and that he will do what he says that he will do for us. It's in light of this that Paul goes on. He says, command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. In this way, they lay up treasure for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life. Do you remember that the formula for great gain that Paul laid out? He said, godliness plus contentment, right? And so godliness is, again, living our lives like God does. It's living our lives by his game plan. And what we discover is, like, when we look at his example, is that he is a God who is rich in good deeds. He is a God who is generous. He is a God who is willing to share. He lives his life with hands wide open. And Paul, he calls us to do the same. Why? Because every time we give like God does, we are joining in the work not just of earth, but of heaven. Every time we give like he does, we are making an investment not just here in the present, but rather in the future that God is guiding all creation toward, a future where all things are set right. Every time we give like he does, we are storing up for ourselves this treasure that has an eternal shelf life, a treasure that has eternal impact and implications. It doesn't really add up on paper at all. But somehow in the economy of God, it works. It makes sense. The more you give, the more abundant life gets. As we said earlier, it turns out this full life, the life that is truly life, is not dependent upon our ability to grit our teeth and get for ourselves, but rather on God's grace that gives and gives and gives. As we receive all that we have, as the gift that it is, as we practice contentment. And as we follow the example of God himself, godliness, great joy is exactly what we yield. Because this is exactly where joy lives. The joy of living like God designed, as people who live with their hands wide open, ready to receive the grace that God so generously gives, and then who let it slip right on through their fingers. And so as we prepare to come to the table today, what I'd like to invite you to do is to make a fist one more time. You don't have to do it as tight as earlier. But as you make that fist, I want you to consider for just a moment, is there a place in your life where greed has kind of snuck in there? Where you find yourself like seeing something through a scarcity lens? Where you have decided you need to grab on as much as you can for yourself and hold tightly onto it? Is there a place where fear keeps shouting, there isn't enough, there isn't enough? What is it? Why are you holding so tightly to it? And now I want to invite you to open your hand once again and to consider, what would it look like for you to release your grip? What would it look like for you to receive what you need from God and then to let the rest overflow into the lives of others? With your hands still wide open today, I want to pray a blessing over you. It's a blessing that comes from Desmond Tutu, but I want you to receive it as a gift today, to receive it as a reminder of the great love that God has for you, that he gives and he gives and he gives, and how joy is found in turning around and giving that love away. You can close your eyes as this blessing is prayed over you. Dear child of God, you are loved with a love that nothing can shake. A love that loved you long before you were created. A love that will be there long after everything has disappeared. You are precious, with a preciousness that is totally quite immeasurable. And God wants you to be like God, filled with life and goodness and laughter and joy. God, who is forever pouring out God's whole being from all eternity, wants you to flourish. God wants you to be filled with joy and excitement and ever longing to be able to find what is so beautiful in God's creation. The compassion of so many, the caring, the sharing. And God says, please, my child, help me. Help me to spread love and laughter and compassion. And you know what, my child? As you do this, presto, you discover joy. Joy which has not sought, joy which you had not sought, comes as the gift, as almost the reward for this non-self-regarding caring for others. Amen.